Glad to have you back. If you're just joining us, you're watching the conversation right here on Lagos Television. Now, this morning we're talking about maximizing security votes in Nigeria. Now, in case what you're imagining what that is, if you are from Nigeria, it's understandable, especially if you follow the news, especially when we talk about the corruption or the scandal that has trailed so many times the fund called security vote. Now, a security vote is actually a fund provided to certain federal, state, and local government officials to disburse at their discretion. In theory, they are reserved for covering unforeseen security needs, transacted mostly in cash. Security vote spending is not subject to legislative oversight or independent audit because of its ostensibly sensitive nature. Although officials often spend some of these funds on security, they also channel them into political activities or allegedly embezzle them for their own reasons. Well, how do we maximize it? That's the conversation here this morning. Well, I'll let our guests do the talking. We have a security expert and a journalist with us this morning. Dapo Kehinde, it's a pleasure to have you join us, sir.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me here.
Okay, we won't be talking about maximizing the impact of security vote if there hasn't been a under maximization of the fund, if vote in the first place. So I'd like to get a historical background as to how did security votes come into play and why. I know it started from the military era, so why did we even transfer it to the civilian or democratic dispensation?
Okay. Yeah, thank you. You've done a part of it by giving us a definition of security vote is actually about. You know, it's a slush fund. It's a kind of a special fund allocated to state governors who also take care of the MDAs, you know, ministries, departments and agencies for that. Then you mentioned something about not properly being utilized. We cannot make sweeping generalization when it comes to that, because over time, you know, I've been in the past 30, 35 years, you know, in tune with security developments and challenges, you know, across the nation, even in Lagos State here. So, and I know how far, you know, we've come in terms of security. I'll get to that later. You talked about the historical background. Well, just like you said, it started during the military era. I think specifically during General Gowon's period. I think there was a need, maybe with some political undertone, you know, to have a fund apart from what is constitutionally provided for, you know, to take care of certain expediencies, you know, for the military administrators. But over time, I mean, it became a culture, and we have imbibed it. I mean, over time, I mean, when we moved to the democratic, when we transited to the democratic era, yes, when we look at it, is it a bad idea, you know, when you target security vote, you know, even though when it started, it was not basically, you know, for that. From my own research, I haven't heard it was because of some political elites that were to be taken care of, you know. So, I mean, a fund should be there that the administrator can have access to, you know, without going through all the process. I mean, so now we have it. Is it bad? I would say no, because we have challenges. We have security challenges. The challenges will always be there. And, you know, there must be a kind of empowerment or enablement, you know, for those who are in government to be able to face these challenges. I'll tell you something. Many years back, I think in the early 90s or maybe late 80s, you will recall that in Lagos here, the challenges that we were having in terms of security was very, very high. We were having waves of
robbery incidents,
armed robbers who will even come. There were bank robberies at night. You may have up to 50, 70, a gang of about 50, 70, you know, armed robbers. I mean, raiding a bank, and the police will not be able to respond because there were no operational vehicles, you know. You may see a division, a whole division, maybe they have only one vehicle, rickety looking vehicle. So, over time, when when governors started making use of all this fund, especially in Lagos, we have been able to see vehicles, especially, you know, Lagos also went ahead to have this security trust fund, yeah, which it was even an idea that I discussed with the governor, Babatunde Rajafashola, before, when he was on his campaign trail, before he became governor. It was something that we paid a visit. I was the national president of the Crime Protectors Association of Nigeria then. We visited him in his house in Surulere. And it was part of what we discussed, that, you know, because of the challenges that Lagos was having then in security, and he was a very proactive person, and, you know, that trust fund was instituted. And now we have vehicles, you know, nice vehicles, and other security equipment gadgets for the police. So that is why I will not say, you know, this fund is not also the same across states, across board. There are states. Okay, you want to say something?
Yes, I was just wondering, like, perhaps just to interject you just a little bit. You said, like, it's all good. Is it a bad thing? No, nobody has said it's a bad thing. But of course, we've seen lots of mismanagement happen with the fund. So when mismanagement happened, in fact, Transparency International said is a mesh of corruption. That is like something that you don't audit, something that you don't legislate on. That is prone to abuse, isn't it?
Okay. Well, there is this saying that where there is no law, there is no sin. You know, we don't have a legislation there, you know, to say that.
No checks.
To put checks, you know, there is no oversight, and there is no public audit concerning this fund. Yeah. In the past, you know, some governors have argued that because it's security, you know, you cannot really talk about it openly, what you're doing, that
behind the scene.
Yeah, you know, that national security, because of national security, you have to keep some of those things, yes, secret, but there is no law. So that is why we cannot even say that the leaders, I would say, who are not that responsible. because a responsible leader will make good use of that fund. If all leaders across all the states have been judiciously using this fund the way they should, we will not be where we are today in terms of security, because we have altogether in a year we have about close to 400 billion naira, being given out to governors. Yes, for security votes. That's huge, That's huge. If we truly spend that on security every year, we should not be crying that federal government should come and assist or do this. Even all the issues of Boko Haram, will let that be?
Okay.
Yes.
I know that Lagos is one out of many states where the security votes is always judiciously used. Joshua read something earlier saying that they disburse this money at their own discretion. There's no check, there's no control, and it's always in cash. Is that not the reason why there are insinuations or suspicions as to why some of these governors, instead of spending this money on security, on improving security in their states, they would rather use it for something else? And like you rightly narrated here, it's for some set of people, for you to take care of them, for a country battling with insecurity as we speak. Would you say that we have actually seen the gains of these security votes?
Yeah. First, before I go into the gains.
And it's not even recognized in the Constitution.
Yes. It's not recognized in the Constitution, but is there in the budget. So you can say, okay, you cannot say it's illegal, sort of.
But do we know the figures?
Well, yeah. I think coming from the federal government, we know that like Delta State, Delta, Rivers, Lagos, Delta is having something about 24 billion a year, and some of the states with, it depends on the challenges that you are having. Some states get as little as maybe around 1.2 billion monthly. A year. No, not monthly.
Okay.
The Ogun State here, I think, is about 800 million, 900,
per year? It can be per year.
No. Yeah.
That's why I said monthly.
Per year, no. Per year, Ogun State is not getting more than 1 point something billion. Yeah. Some states are not even getting. I think there are about two states who are not really captured in it. So, whereas the Niger Delta, the states in the Niger Delta, because of the pipeline vandalism that was going on at that time, this fund was. But then, you see today, we don't have much agitation in that place. What happened? This security vote was being used for training some of the rescue views, and some of them are pilots today. They've been when we talk about security votes, it's not just about buying vehicles, gadgets, or whatever. Even training, even addressing the roots,
cause of insecurity.
The cause of this is maybe poverty, unemployment. These are some of the things in which even Lagos State, they've been having, programs whereby people are trained, So those are big. And even in the police that we're saying, you say there's this adage. Even a very good pot will not provide food. You have a good pot, you have bought a pot now. It's not enough to provide food. You must have a cook. You have to train the cook. So training and retraining of security personnel.
It's part of what is taking security.
It's part of it. It's part of it. Then recently, just about 2 weeks ago or something, I heard the Commissioner of Police, Lagos State Command, CP Olariwaju Ishola, mentioned at a press conference, he's been doing well in Lagos, and he mentioned that very soon they are going to start policing parts of Lagos with drone.
Okay.
I mean, that kind of project is not going to be the police. I mean, it's still going to be part of what the government is going to support. It's going to be definitely it's a government thing.
But year in, year out, after spending this security vote, do they give accounts?
Giving account, that is what we're
because
saying.
Because if you don't give account, that's a loophole for you to siphon money.
Yes, people have abused it. And let me tell you something. What we need is just political will. At the time, governors were prosecuted for this. They even went to jail.
Yeah,
I think in Taraba, in Benue, even Autumn was having issues with the FCC on that. So if there is a political will because the federal government is giving this out. So if there is a complaint that in a particular state this is not being judiciously used, I mean, if the president of there, it can call them to question what's happening. If there are facts, anyway, you will know. I mean, it's not if something is being, if you go out everywhere now in Lagos, you see security cameras, you see, I mean, okay, something is going on. But if there is a state, they have challenges and kidnapping, banditry, and there are no response, you can't see anything physically being done by the governor or whatever, then that's when people start asking questions that what is happening, there is call for accountability, and transparency.
Okay. Now, we noticed that over the years, we've seen that this security vote has been expanded in scope and, of course, in scale. Now, we noticed that it's also a method of, allegedly now, for governors who primarily are in charge of this fund to help sort out political opponents, traditional rulers, or people that might actually go against them. It's a slush fund, and of course they are magnanimous in it, or better still, they use it to build more houses for themselves. So how do you explain this? So you have, like, if you get like a month, you get like 50 or about 100 million or even 200 million. The discretion at which you use it is primarily yours. So you can actually go all around security chiefs. So all you just hear is Governor Dadani, as against solving the challenges of security in your locales, or helping even the local government chairman to address some of the issues pertaining to miscreant. Perhaps I will talk about what I feel should be the use of security votes if we can't really scrap it altogether and put it as part of our budget to increase budgetary allocations to either education or even other health or sub-sectors. So what do you think about that?
But then you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, So
something that we can't actually probe you for, that we can't actually ask you how you've spent it, because it's security. I can't tell you what I've done to secure my domain. That is subject to interpretation.
You see, we are evolving to get to a stage. I wanted to crack a joke when you mentioned that the politicians were using it to build a house or whatever. Well, maybe, I mean, we're talking about security. Maybe those politicians wanted to secure themselves first. I mean, they want to secure themselves, but then that's just by the side. Anyway, it's with time. There was a time no governor was being questioned about this. Mm-hmm. Then we got to a time when 2 governors were jailed. So political development, is something that there'll be changes as long as now activists are out there really asking, questions about this. I know a lot of them, syrup and all that. So some of them have gone to court, So you may just wake up one day and see that they got a judgment and maybe they've won a case over this. And things will change over time. Things will change, but that is not the fear of misuse of this fund should not blind us to the need, of such money that can be used in a critical emergency period.
Can you give me a practical example of how the security vote has been judiciously used? I am sure, please don't go to the Lagos State Trust Fund, because that money, we know how they get that money. Of course, it's a combination of the private sector, largely driven by the private sector in Lagos. So I'm sure you can't use all the slush fund of the security vote to buy all those vehicles. I'm sure that is not. Paul, so can you help me with a practical example of how security vote has prevented all these border interstate clashes that we've seen, inter-villages clashes that we've seen, all these border issues, all these perennial inter-court fighting in different parts, even in Lagos State? How has security vote prevented? Give me the good things that we shouldn't, reasons why we shouldn't scrap security votes.
Now, before the Lagos State Security Trust Fund, I told you that there were interventions here, there. At a time when we had that big challenge in Lagos, when armed robbery was the order of the day, in the afternoon, at night, banks were being robbed, people were killed, and there were no vehicles for police to fight. I remember once one commissioner of police, Adi Ajakaye, he was racking his brain, how can we tackle this? And, with the state government, I think they ended up going for armored personnel carriers that were abandoned. Those things were abandoned. If you're driving to Lagos, you see them. They were used during the Adewusi days, during the mobile police, So they were in bad state. So they had to refurbish these APCs. And there was a particular operation when robbers came, I think around the Pori or so, to raid a bank at night. And the policemen who have always been, running away, they were emboldened
to face them.
With that, to face them. It was a bloody night. So they went in that APC, and that could give them a kind of confidence. So apart from the APC or the ammunition being bought for, and the allowances being, we had before the Security Trust Fund, we've had the RRS, it's still part of it. State was funding it. I want to mention one other thing, there is the emergency response facilities. If you're traveling down, if you're going on the mainland bridge now, at the time, I don't know if you're still there, you see ambulance. You see ambulance, placed, parked. So if there's an accident, emergency response facilities were available. The Security Trust Fund that came later was to kind of boost, a kind of support for what has been on ground. So it's been spent, it's been deployed, but the political angle, you cannot also take it out, because when there are challenges, and just like I said, where there is no law, there is no sin. They do make use of it, but there should be a call, and there is a need for governors to give account and even publish annual reports. Annual reports. At the end of the year, annual report. This is how, what we got. This is how it's been spent. So you will know when we're talking about maximizing the impact, you will see if something has been done, if in black and white, and this will kind of, build trust in the citizen.
Okay, I want us to look beyond Lagos now. We have options in Lagos aside from the security vote. We have the Security Trust Fund. But there are other states in Nigeria where there are no security trust fund, and people are more concerned about the transparency of this money. How is it spent? What is the impact of this money? What are those things or channels that we need to put in place to ensure that these governors are transparent, and of course people can see things that are visible for them to feel the impact that, okay, indeed, we're facing this particular challenge at this particular time, but because of the judicious use of the security votes, we can see that this particular problem has been solved by the governor instead of using the money. And then, how do we track the spending? If you are getting this money in cash, cash could be very tempting.
Well, even with the cash thing, I think if we deploy technology, documenting some of this spending in real time on digital platforms, it can, and making it public. All these things, it just takes a political will. But if there are no sustained calls, from the people, there won't be any change. Especially if a state is being, is facing a lot of challenges concerning security, and like we were having in some southwest states when during this incursion of some people who were, who were killing farmers and all that, Amotekun came up and all those. Maybe the Amotekun thing, maybe it's part of the fund that is, could have been.
We're not sure.
We are not sure. We are not sure. But then, we have that in place now, and we became calm. That okay, Amotekun is there. It's not just the police alone. They have support. They have the civil defense corps who have been empowered as well. So they are making use of it, but maybe not enough. Maybe they need to do more. And it's so important, it's very important anyway, accountability in whatever we're doing, because people will still ask.
Okay, things have been better if we allow states to have their own police. Maybe this will erase what we call, what we have tagged as security vote now. If you have your own state police, then you can spend this money in equipping this police.
Yes, at a time when this talks about state police started, actually I was not in support because of the fear that maybe governors will become too powerful and they will, but on the inside, I think it's a good thing if we have it. We have a better police arrangement, and then the governor will be, what we have right now is not the best yet. So, and we have to strive to get the best. So that's why I'm in support now. And I think even, you see, policing, today they can transfer people from the north to Lagos. Where they're going to stay, they don't. You see them, hanging around. Accommodation is a challenge. And these are the guys that you want to deploy how to go and fight crime. And don't forget, if you are transferred maybe from a part of the country to another, your salary is not going to increase. There are no allowances. How much are the police being paid? You put a man out there with a gun, you give him a gun, go and stand on the road. And he's there in the sun and under the rain. At the end of the month, his take home is just about 100,000 naira. Some of them less. You even see an officer with all the ranks and everything. What's the pay? Maybe about 250,000, say a DPO. And so they have a family. They go to the same market, that you go to. So these are some of the challenges, that we have, and we need to address it.
So when we have state police now, are we still going to have the security vote?
If we have state police, some of these things will change, because there will now be a kind of competition. This state will want his police to be better, and is there being practice in the United States? We have, the Los Angeles Police Department, they even have a website that you can visit. You see what they are doing every day, giving account to the people, what they've done, and they have a kind of interactive this thing that you can just, if you have any complaint, you give, and they take action. So I believe it's going to be better. A kind of example, of it. We have seen a shade of it, even in Lagos here. The RRS that was created, it was, it's a kind of because the government you can see that they are better kitted. They stand out from so, and during the time of Shobulo and all and those who followed them, even Akimodu, the kind of response they were giving. I experienced the armed robbery at a time, I think in my neighbor's house, and I just called. I think that was during the Marwa period, and there was this security numbers were stickers, it was on buses. So I got one of the stickers, I placed it at one of the doors in the house. So when the robbers came, I just called the number, and within a period of 10 minutes or whatever, those guys arrived. They took two of the robbers down, and those are the kind of responses we're saying. So when you have it's like having a special force. So I'm in support of state police, because I know it's going to be for better,
Okay, without stretching it, perhaps we'll get your final thought on this, because honestly speaking, while we can see some semblance, we do know that of progress in Lagos, we do also realize that it is not only in Lagos that that security vote is deployed. It's also deployed in other parts of the country. I'm sure it's deployed in Zamfara State, it's in Borno, it's in Niger State. I'm talking about the hotspots in Zimbabwe, in Kaduna, but we haven't seen much of movement as far as peace in those areas. We still see activities of bandits and all that. I know it has taken different shapes and forms and sizes, but of course, even if it is traditional rulers of that place, or you pay for informant, that is what your security vote will do. It will have gone a long way in curbing some of the mutations of these crimes and criminalities we've seen in our area. So perhaps in your parting shot, should security vote stay, or should it go, or we put it as part of our budget in terms of no longer it being amorphous, but it's now a budget that should be appropriated for and should be explained?
What I will vote for is accountability and transparency. I will not vote for throwing the baby out with the bathwater. So I think we should find a way to improve on it. We should make the governors accountable, to the public. So, but right now, I'm coming. Right now, we are having battles. We are having a lot of security challenges. So we cannot say, I mean, the money is not even enough, you know, to fight the kind of
insecurity that we're facing.
yes, that we're facing. So it's not in this scenario that will now try to cut some of the funds coming, you know, to do this thing. And if the governors don't have the security funds, you know, there will be more challenges for them. So we don't need to create more challenges.
I want to say thank you very much, Mr. My mic, you need to behave yourself now, so you work properly. Thank you very much, Mr. Dapo Kehinde, security expert and journalist, for joining us this morning to analyze how to maximize the impact of security votes. It's a pleasure to have you join us, sir.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.
Of course,
thank you, viewers.
That's about it for the conversation. They said we shouldn't throw away the baby with the bathwater. Of course, we won't do that if our governors appropriate it judiciously. But talking about transparency, how do we even know how much you get? Talk less of how to explain how you spent it. Well, that's another conversation for another day. We take a short break. Joy is standing by to take us through conversations there. Don't go anywhere.